Your shopping campaigns might be the best performers. You can't just see it unless you change your attribution lens. I'm Charlie, I come from investment banking and I help companies to reduce their customer cost acquisition, improve their margin and scale profitably. Today, I'm going to cover with you a use case I've been through recently that I want to share because I think it's going to be very interesting for you because probably a lot of people are falling in this trap. So if you look at the slide here, all of this data is not the real one. It's close to the real one, but it's not. The deltas are more or less the same, but we're not sharing any confidential data here. So you have two campaigns, a search campaign and a shopping campaign. And those campaigns, we spend exactly the same in both campaigns. But when you look at the revenue, you see that Google search is actually doing 20% more revenue. And so when you look at this from that lens, you're like, well, then it makes sense to spend more on brand search because shopping has a lower ROI. Yes, but it is last search attribution. And the thing is, those two campaigns behave very differently. So the great thing is that we do have some very interesting attribution tool in the Google toolset. So if you go in your Google Ads and you go in your goals and then you select attribution, you'll be able to compare last search attribution and DDA. DDA stands for Driven Data Attribution. Now, it's a black box. Nobody knows exactly how it works. So a pinch of salt, but it's definitely better than just using last search attribution. So is it perfect? No. Does it give direction? Yes. Is it better than last search attribution? 100%. So now the problem with DDA is obviously the problem I mentioned often with those multi-touch attribution tool is that it can only create a path of touch point taken one track and then only touch point can connect together. And the reality is that very few touch points tick both boxes. And so you work with very narrow windows. But the good news is on the Google and search, we're more on the bottom of the funnel. So attribution tool tends to be more accurate on the lower funnel rather than the upper funnel. And so back to what I want to say, if we look at DDA and we compare it to the last search attribution, if you do it on your side, you will probably see something that is similar as that chart that we see, is that we see that shopping has 30% more attribution when we look at DDA versus last touch. Search has 5% less and retargeting has 20% less. Obviously, do your own search, check yourself in your own platform because the numbers might be different depending on your initiative, what you show on shopping, what you show on search, etc. But yeah, again, it's a pinch of salt because it's an incomplete view, but it can give you a directional idea. So what it says is like, yeah, okay, your last search attribution says your Google search campaigns are 20% more effective than your shopping. But here what we say is that, well, DDA disagree with that. DDA says that shopping is working better than Google search. So there is like a difference in behavior that we have to understand is that people searching on non-brand search and shopping on ads, well, they're the same people. They usually go on both, but the behavior is slightly different. So when you go on a non-brand search page and you look for a product, usually very specific in the query, and you're going to see 5 products, like the 5 first link. When you do a search on shopping, it's usually less specific, and then you see a whole carousel of products. You can see like hundreds of products in one single search. And so in the mindset, it is a bit different because people are more discovering the product in shopping, while in Google search, you're really more specific. They know more or less exactly what they want, so they start to look into the specs, etc. And because of this, that means that shopping is actually much higher in the funnel than search. And this is why in your last search attribution, your Google search campaigns works better than your shopping campaigns. There's one thing that you have to be careful of is the diminishing return. And so you can't fully rely on the ROI you see in the platforms. Here I have an example of campaign A. The ROI is 3.8, but the marginal ROI is 0.5. While for campaign B, the ROI is 1.5 and the marginal ROI is 136. So if you look at your platform, you'll say, hey, campaign A is working way better than campaign B, so we have to put more money in that campaign A. But when you look at marginal ROI, you'll find out that it's actually more profitable to invest in the campaign B. So that is the first thing you need to check. I did a video about this, how to find diminishing return. I also have been posting on it on LinkedIn. If you want me to do another video about this and run it directly into Collab so you can look how we do it, I'm more than happy to do it. I'll post it in the comment. The second thing that you have to be very careful of is do not neglect your brand awareness. So shopping and search purchase are obviously driven by internet search, but also social media, peers review, events, OOH, CTV, OLV, Actually, also prices, haven't mentioned this. And so it's really important that you make sure that you feed the funnel. A lot of conversions are won before buyers consider buying because they will remember the brand and they build affinity with buyers, so they want to buy from you. So this is extremely important. So for example, if you start to see that you have diminishing return in both shopping and search, in the slide I showed before, that also might communicate the fact that you want to push more on the brand awareness path. There are quite easy ways to measure brand awareness. You have the upper funnel website traffic, you have self-attribution, you have share of search. And here in black, I want to share like a school case scenario of a company. So this was a competitor that was fully focused on performance marketing. They were doing no brand. And what happened is that they start to have a reduction in margin, and to keep the margin, to reduce marketing. But because they were fully focused on performance marketing, the number of share of search drastically reduced because most of it was just driven by performance marketing. And year on year, this company actually mentioned that they lost 30% of revenue. And so this is a very costly situation to be in. So you always want to make sure that you're not fully focused on performance marketing, because in the long term, you're going to pay for it. So what is the next step? So you have a short-term next step, which is, for example, you have multiple channels and you look at last attribution for all, because Google has DDA, but not all the channels have DDA. So often when we look at platform reporting, we look at last attribution on all. One thing you can do is that you can apply a multiplier, the DDA multiplier, but this is really short term, because in the long term, you want to understand incrementality and budget optimization. And you can do that through incrementality test, and you can do that through MMMs. So the incrementality is it driving any revenue? It's not because you have a touch point that it has contributed to anything. And that's a big problem of a multi-touch attribution. And for the budget optimization part, maybe shopping performs better than search, so we could put more money into shopping. But would it be more interesting to move that money to shopping or more brand awareness initiative, such as organic posts on social media? The MMM will really help you to understand where to push your money to maximize your overall return on investment, because the only return on investment that matters is your total revenue divided by your total go-to-market spend. Go-to-market spend being sales plus marketing. All the ROI winning campaigns are questionable for many reasons, because they're on different level in the funnel. There's a lot of channels that claims return on investment, but that were not incremental at all. So it's actually quite easy to have a very strong ROI in platforms, but that also means that you are going to impact the real ROI of your company. I hope you enjoyed that use case, and if there's anything that you want me to cover, let me know, and see you next time. Bye.